For the past century, the Panama Canal has been one of the biggest giants of commerce across the globe. Just in 2022, more than 14,200 ships passed through this canal for business purposes, and it is the most efficient route for transporting goods from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. However, since we live in a world of innovations, there's a new giant on the way, and experts are saying that it could rival the Panama Canal, potentially taking the glory of a century-old commerce pathway. But where this new pathway is located will shock you, and the plans for it are even shocking. To surprise you even more, the construction of this corridor is already underway, and it might become Mexico's biggest mega project. Join us on this journey as we talk about the potential rival of the Panama Canal, its construction, and how it might steal the glory. Moreover, if you enjoy more mega projects-related videos like these, consider subscribing to our channel for more. You might be familiar with the Suez Canal. Well, the one that's responsible for most sea trades worldwide. Along with the Suez Canal, the Panama Canal is one of the most popular waterways for global trade. It provides a most innovative shortcut between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, drastically reducing the time by cutting out the distance ships need to travel. Instead of going around Cape Horn at the tip of South America, the Panama Canal provides a more direct route that connects North and South America with the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. The length of this canal is 65 kilometers, while the Suez Canal is 3 times longer than this. To make things even more interesting, the Grand Canal in China is around 20 times longer. But here we aren't talking about who's the best in terms of length. What the Panama Canal lacks in length, it compensates in other areas. Its significance is history, and it does its job perfectly. But what does the Panama Canal even do? For that, we will need to go back in time. Before the Panama Canal, the cargo ships crossing from one side to the other was a huge risk for countries, sailors, and regular people. Well, consider that there's a cargo ship that needs to go from Europe to California. Well, before the Panama Canal, the route would become complex as the ship would need to go to Chile, then pass the Strait of Magellan, and then move north once again. To make things interesting, passing this area back in the days would mean weeks and weeks, even for the fastest ships. Moreover, for normal ships, this exact time frame would stretch to months, which is something you would have never guessed. Lastly, this route was deadly as many storms and unpredictable weather would happen, hindering the delivery of cargo. But before we talk about Panama Canal's biggest rival, we must take into consideration its construction. It was 1903. The United States finally took time to plan and address the cargo challenge that was taking over the world. They went on and formulated a plan to construct a shipping canal in Central America. Back in those days, this canal promised to reduce the shipping journey, but no one knew what it would mean for world trade. Initially, this journey would make the journey from the Atlantic to the Pacific less than a day, cutting the distance to a whopping 13,000 kilometers. Now imagine that suddenly your distance has been cut down so much that instead of taking months or weeks, you can reach from point A to point B in just a day. That's how much of an innovative plan it was. For Americans, this construction was one of the hardest tasks they had ever seen. From employing dynamite, drilling the area, and even steam-powered shovels to clear over 200 cubic meters of earth, this plan was hectic. A lot of noise pollution and destruction was done, but that's not all. The laborers were boiling hot in the harshest environments because the temperature was exceeding 40 degrees Celsius. To make things worse, this canal cost 12,000 lives of the people who couldn't survive the summer heat. Then, we had engineering troubles that were unlimited, as they even needed to add locks and gates to control the water level and prevent floods. After years of strong labor and spending $375 million, which is around $12 billion today, we saw the construction of the Panama Canal. In 1914, the construction was completed, and today we see tens of thousands of ships moving from this place every year, doing business in the purest way. This has become the pathway for the transportation of 500 million tons of cargo and goods. Whether we like it or not, the Panama Canal has shifted the landscape of global trade. Moving forward to 2024, this canal might face its biggest competitors, and there are many. This project is called the Interoceanic Corridor of the Isthmus of Tehuantepec, but don't worry, because it's not as complex as its name. For the sake of your sanity, we are going to call it the CIIT. Now, moving back to the 19th century again, it wasn't just the United States that tried to make a plan for connecting the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean. Rather, there was another country that wanted to give the US a run for its money. In 1884, it was José de la Cruz Porfirio Diaz Mori who became the president of Mexico. After coming into power, Diaz decided to make a railway that would link the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean. This event isn't even widely known, but in 1907, the newly built railway called Tren Interoceanico officially launched. To make things interesting, this was already 7 years ahead of the Panama Canal, and the world quickly embraced the railway. Back in the day, hundreds of thousands of tons of cargo traveled through the railway, and it seemed like the next big thing. Moving forward to 1914, when the Panama Canal was inaugurated, the shipping companies altogether abandoned the Mexican railway and went all into the Panama Canal. In just a year, the cargo from the CIIT decreased to nearly nothing, nearing its end. This was the case in Mexico for a century, until a new president came into Mexico and had plans that would shock the world. In 2018, we saw President López Obrador in power. President López wanted to reformulate the Mexican railway lines to establish a unique corridor between the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean. This would make the new corridor the biggest contender to the old Panama Canal. Moving back to the CIIT, we are seeing a whole new era of railways that shipping companies will most likely prefer over the Panama Canal. Back in June 2020, the groundwork for this project started. The groundwork was all about the elimination of vegetation, removal of old tracks, and installation of new, shiny, and innovative ones. This new railway incorporates the 3 main lines. These lines extend to 1,000 kilometers, which is revolutionary. President López even showed us a lot of new and exciting use cases for this project. In 2023, he deployed the army to get control of the section of the old railway which was owned by a private company. He even gave compensation to the company for the sake of taking complete control of the railway before finalizing any deals. This was done to avoid any trouble that could potentially harm the project. However, this forceful approach has seen a lot of trouble with the protesters, including Mexican natives and other people residing in the area. For the most part, all the protests have one thing in common. The protesters are all concerned about the environmental damage this project is doing. That's because this project has a lot of things like tree removal, dynamites, and other concerns. To locals, this is a huge threat, and they're taking everything personally. To make things worse, many locals have reported that due to this project, their lives are ruined, and now they have been forced to relocate from one place to another. However, according to the Mexican government, the benefits of this project will outweigh the drawbacks. Finally, in August 2023, out of the 3 lines, 1 line achieved completion. In September 2023, President López personally traveled on the passenger train across the entire route, covering the whole journey in less than 9 hours. This route is faster than going through the Panama Canal, which is through the sea. Moreover, right before Christmas 2023, the first train of Interoceanico started operating for the general public, transporting local passengers from the Atlantic coast to the Pacific. Moreover, the remaining 2 lines are expected to be finalized by the end of 2024. But since this project, there have been talks about the Panama Canal's glory being threatened. Many expats believe that the CIIT is a cost-effective and faster route compared to the Panama Canal. This could mean that the shipping companies might start taking the Mexican trains to send their cargo from one side to the other side. With a budget of $2.85 billion, this innovation can take over global trade. Now we ask you the final question. Do you think the CIIT railway will make the Panama Canal obsolete, or will it become a failure like its predecessor? Let us know in the comments down below. And subscribe to the channel if you're looking for more mega projects related news like these.